Hey guys, Don here, your pop culture boy. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm noticing that white artists are ditching their blackness, and when I say that, what I mean is white artists are no longer leeching off black genres or black aesthetics to thrive in music, and are now going back to being, well, white. White artists from the US are being white again, and I find this interesting as the music industry continues to go downhill. Now, I feel like around 2013, that's when a lot of white artists started to adapt more of a hip-hop aesthetic musically, or started to act more like African Americans, i.e., white artists started doing things that is prominent and significant to Black American culture. So for a long period, I was like, bruh, what happened to the quintessential white artists other than Taylor Swift? And even Taylor Swift had her black era.
What is the owl? Bird niggas and bird bitches.
But as I said at the start of this video, white artists are being white again. I'm seeing the white aesthetics or the white swag making a comeback in a major way. And I'm not that shocked, as a wise man once said, everyone wants to be a nigga, but no one wants to be a nigga when it's time to actually be a nigga. And yes, I said the N-word. If you have a problem, just check my Instagram, and I'm sure you won't have a problem anymore, unless you're Oprah. So yeah, let's have another calm, light-hearted, soothing, and collective, non-triggering conversation about music. Because why be triggered when you are a happy human being that understands that people just have different opinions about music? In this video, I'll talk about the current phenomenon of white artists ditching the black aesthetic that has been popular since the early 2010s in the US. The nostalgic era when white musicians were in their white music bag, when they were at their whitest. And white's okay to be white. You don't have to act black to sell records. I am Don, your pop culture boy. Let's get into it.
Catastrophic.
Right now, music is changing, and in an uncomfortable, unpredictable way, due to streaming, new technology, corporate greed, and how everything seems played out. So audiences are not down with a lot of the music that's being released today. Feels like the US music industry is crashing. Everything is going back to basics, and right now it seems like the best thing an artist can do is educate themselves on the business and go independent if they can. In the midst of all of this, white artists in the US are ditching the hip-hop influence from their music and overall image. And even if some of them still adapt that hip-hop fashion today, it still has that white feel to it, or the white swag, that white vibe a lot of white artists started running from since the early 2010s. Case in point, Billie Eilish. She has slowly moved away from the trap hip-hop sound after her debut album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go?, to now releasing more soft and soothing music since her sophomore Happier Than Ever, that draws from a 90s, early 2000s pop sound.
End me. End me. You should see me in a crowd. I'm gonna run, there's nothing to have. I'm happier than ever. That's just embarrassing. You are my everything.
And yes, Billie is still, infusing other black genres into her music like jazz, but it's very watered down. It's very, not as intense, that black. It's kind of watered down now and a lot more subtle. Even the way Billie used to be styled, it was very hip hop meets odd white girl to now still black styles here and there, but for the most part, it has been toned down to like a skater girl, Avril Lavigne type drip. The epidemic of white artists acting or being black in the music industry is nothing new. Elvis Presley, an all-American treasure. A lot of y'all that are not 80 years old like me might not know this, but when Elvis debuted on the radio back in the late 1940s, people thought he was black. The way he sang bluesy and soulful harmonies was stylistically and synonymous with how black people would vocally perform in that era as well. Elvis adapted a lot of black seasonings into his overall career, and a lot of people considered him a culture vulture, despite his upbringing that includes attending black churches in a mostly black neighborhood in Tupelo, Mississippi, where he developed his passion for performing. So I guess some can argue that's the reason for his blackness as a white man. Throughout Elvis's career, the artist would cover various tracks by other artists. black artists that helped catapult him to fame, overshadowing the original tracks performed by black artists. The singer covered Little Richard's Tutti Frutti and got way more credit and praise. So a lot of people would say he got fame off the backs of black culture. Big Mama Thornton's hit Hound Dog saw moderate success, but after Elvis covered the track, it sold millions, and many weren't aware of the original performer. Now, Presley's vocals wasn't the only aspect of his artistry that was considered an imitation of Black American culture. His overall aesthetics, dance moves, and mannerisms can be traced back to rock and roll, pioneered by black artists such as Little Richard and Chuck Berry. But Elvis was named the king of rock and roll, a genre and culture that was created by African Americans. Now, in 1994, Ray Charles did an interview on NBC with Bob Costas, and he did not downplay how he felt about Elvis.
Nobody appreciates more different kinds of music than you, that's obvious. But did you feel at the time, in the 50s, early 60s, a resentment of some of the white performers who were copying R&B stuff and selling more records than you and your contemporaries were?
I just didn't object to it. I just felt that the music it wasn't that good to care about. Now, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I'm being honest with you.
Maybe some exceptions, though. I mean, Elvis was a talented guy.
Well, okay.
Not necessarily. You know better than I.
Yeah.
Let me ask it differently. How good was Elvis?
What Elvis did, he caused a lot of the populace, if you want to, and usually when people say populace, they usually mean white people, to start listening to a lot of music that normally they wouldn't have been listening to. I guess I'm going to lose at least about a third of my fans right now. But to say that Elvis was so great and so outstanding, like they say, he's the king, I got in trouble because one guy asked me this question and I said the king of what, and he got mad at me. You see, I don't think of Elvis like that because I know too many artists that are far greater than Elvis. I think Elvis person came along at the right time, where he was a white kid that could do rock and roll or rhythm and blues or whatever name you want to call it, and the girls could swoon over him. Nat Cole got in trouble in Alabama when the women swooned over him, got put out of town. And black people have been going out shaking their behind for centuries. What the hell's unusual about that shaking their hips and stuff? And that's all Elvis was doing, was copying that. And he was doing our kind of music. He was doing the Willie Mae Thornton, Jailhouse Rock. That's black music. So what the hell am I supposed to get so excited about, man? But I think all this stuff about saying he's the king and he's the... it's a piece of bunk. Sorry. Next question. Don't ask me no more about Elvis because I've gotten enough trouble as it is.
And I have to agree with Ray Charles. Elvis did come at the right time. It was a time of breaking the rules. Young people were taking over and abandoning the old ways, to an extent at least. And Elvis did have the right skin tone to display black culture. Just that it's unfortunate he got way too much credit, whether him being authentic or not, as he didn't create anything. Ray Charles didn't play. He said, "Black people been shaking ass for years." And there is nothing wrong with that.
Shake that ass to drink and shake that ass to weed.
Another artist many thought was black due to in part her largely being in black genres and black spaces was Tina Marie. Tina Marie was an incredible R&B and soul singer that for a large portion of her youth grew up in the historical Black Venice enclave of Oakwood in the 70s. Now, although Tina was a white woman in the black sector of music, unlike Elvis Presley, Black Americans accepted Tina. But as I said, most people assumed she was black because she sounded like a black woman. And even after it came out she was white and people saw she was white, a lot of people still assumed she was black. And throughout her career, she was endorsed heavily by Rick James, who was her friend and label mate on Motown Records. Sadly, Tina Marie is no longer with us as she passed away on December 26, 2010 at the young age of 54. Now, let's segue to the good old 90s and 2000s, where most popular artists had their unique identity, before it was popular for everyone to do the same thing over and over. Now, we definitely had outliers, meaning white artists that were sonically dabbling in a little black African American culture, infusing elements of hip-hop and R&B into their sounds, which I will get into in a little bit, but for the most part, you turn on your radio and white artists were just white. You change the channel onto MTV on your big headback TV and white people were acting white, and it was kind of glorious. In the 90s and 2000s, when piracy ads were a thing, it was a special time in music for white artists. Back when emo aesthetics and watching anime wasn't a trend. Back when rock music or pop rock was poppin'. And it's very nostalgic to me, an 80-year-old black man, which sometimes makes me want to go back because white people don't make them like this anymore for some reason. I'm talking about the cool but haunting vocals of Amy Lee, member of American rock band Evanescence. And the track I'm talking about is their 2003 smash, Bring Me to Life, which also includes guest vocals from Paul McCoy. And for those wondering which song I'm still talking about, I'm talking about the classic rock track that goes,
Wake me up!
Bring Me Back to Life is the band's most successful single to date, peaking at number 5 on the Hot 100 and sold 3 million copies in the US. We can also take into consideration Paramore's 2008's Decode, which got a huge boost thanks to the track being featured in the Twilight soundtrack. Twilight, the millennials' version of the Titanic. Songs like this is what I like to call white girl anthems. No matter how tough or strong you think you are, once you turn on Decode by Paramore, instantly you will transform into a white emo girl with red hair who thinks no one understands you. Now the next song is All Star by Smash Mouth.
Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play.
Now this classic smash hit that was released in 1999 was also one of those ultimate white people bangers that make you want to break out into doing the worm or the robot. Remember that dance, the robot? Just ultimate white people energy in the best way possible. Now I have some sad news. Rest in peace to the lead vocalist of Smash Mouth, Stephen Harwell. I will forever drop this whenever I feel sad. This is a classic and it will never go out of style. Thank you. Rest in peace. Another noteworthy track is 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins, or any Coldplay song that came out in the 90s or 2000s, say Yellow or Viva La Vida, or even this track called Just the Way You Are by Milky, an Italian dance music production group. I don't know, but white people used to be on their shit back in the day. Bruh, something about that song, it just makes me wanna. In this era, white people were white. They had their own distinctive way of performing music. The cadence and the pronunciations were unique to them. The fashion, the mannerisms, always sticking out their tongue while flashing the rock hand gesture. Cannot dance to save their life. Now that being said, there were still a few outliers that lean into black culture. Notoriously Justin Timberlake. He had the cane rose and also dabbled in R&B, something he still does to this day. Now we all know Pink is a white woman, right? But some of us are simply unaware or don't remember the singer's light-skinned era. Yes, Pink used to be a strong black woman. In the year 2000, Pink was signed to LaFace Records while being a member of R&B girl group Choice. But somewhere between during and after production of their debut album, apparently the label came to the conclusion they just wanted Pink. So L.A. Reid, one of the founders of LaFace, gave Pink an ultimatum: go the fuck home or go solo. Pink's first album, Can't Take Me Home, was an R&B pop record that's inspired by Destiny's Child, TLC, and Aaliyah. The album, along with its singles, was a success, naturally making her a rising star, causing many to wonder if Pink was a light-skinned black woman because she was making R&B music. But to people's credit at the time who thought that, Pink was a bit unclear when it came time to clarify.
There's a poll going on, like a bet going on at my friend's work. They think my mom lied to me about who my dad is. Like, they totally think I'm mixed. I'm like, whatever, like, I'm a mutt. We all are. We all came from the same place, God. And that's how I explain it. We're all pink on the inside, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. If you respect me, I respect you. And if you're ignorant, then I don't have anything to do with you, basically. I mean, a lot of people come to me, they're like, what's your music, like Portishead kind of thing? And then, or else they've heard the song on the radio first and they're like, she's not white. But people need to realize you don't have to be anything to be anything. It comes from your experiences, it comes from where you've been, what you've been taught, and what you've decided to go with and learn.
With the release of her second studio album, Misunderstood, Pink had more creative control and dived into music that she wanted to make, becoming a pop rock queen. And light-skinned Pink hasn't been seen or heard of since. And I'm not mad, because apparently she didn't have much say with her debut record. So you go, Glen Coco. While still on the topic of outliers, there was also Gwen Stefani, who I really don't have to go into detail about. I made a video about her a long time ago, please don't watch it, but Gwen was out here being everybody. Fergie deserves a mention, Robin Thicke, Eminem, and even JoJo, who people don't really talk about anymore in regards to the 2000s music era, but JoJo was loved by everyone. JoJo made pop R&B music with a lot of soul for a white girl, but as I said, people loved JoJo because she was just a white girl who made R&B, and that was that. Now let's run on over to the 2010s. In the 2010s, white swag was still in, especially the early part of that decade. But that's when the transition of white pop stars in the US of that period started adapting traits that's been popularized by Black Americans. Also, hip-hop started to rise in the early 10s, when trap influences started to take over. Rappers like Future, 2 Chainz, The Migos, and Fetty Wap started to get super popular. There was also viral hip-hop songs, like that song about Tuesday. There was also Hot Niggas by Bobby Shmurda. That went super viral. And hip-hop is the main reason why white artists, and white people in general, not all, but a lot, thought it was okay to be black for the aesthetics. That was mainly the case, even in the 90s and 2000s, but the push in the 10s was on another level, as people were getting more connected through hip-hop due to social media becoming more popular. That's also when influencers started to become more popular as well, and by the time the Migos started to reinterpret mumble rap, it was just out of hand. Almost every major white artist started to incorporate hip-hop into their music, and started to act black or urban. Even Taylor hopped on the trend, incorporating hip-hop into her sound. Case in point, Bad Blood, where she recruited Kendrick Lamar, or the time she collaborated with the king of toxicity, Future, on the track Endgame. And in the music video, Taylor was all swagged out, acting all urban and hip. Now that being said, I will say Taylor is probably one of the white artists that didn't get too carried away. Yeah, she participated a few times musically, but still stayed true to the pop sound. Like, she didn't make a hip-hop album or anything like that. Another point I want to make about why this happened was because of the steady rise of the hip-hop genre that slowly killed the band. And bands in the US typically make rock music, and the rock genre pushed things that are more synonymous with white people. Hence, the fall of rock music being the most popular genre in the US made bands less popular. So the kids that needed inspiration at that time wasn't inspired by rock music like the previous generation. Now, when it comes to the 2010s, there were outliers, but there were mainly offenders, i.e. white artists adapting black traits. And I'm using this term, offenders, in this segment because the 2010s was when people started to point out the trope and the negative effects. Terms like culture vulture, appropriation became prevalent, along with blackfishing. So the offenders of that decade were Justin Bieber. He thought he was Chris Brown in the 2010s, making hip-hop, partying with a lot of black people, doing push-ups in the hood. And here's the thing with light-skinned Justin. He could have just made the music that was black inspired and keep it at that. But nah, he portrayed the negative stereotypes like Miley Cyrus, who in the 10s became a bad stereotype, or a caricature of a black woman. She did all the cliches, twerking, and call it something else, calling Bantu knots twisties or some shit like that. I made a video about it, go watch it. But another major offender is Ariana Grande, who in my opinion was way worse than Miley Cyrus. For the most part, Miley just looked like a white woman trying to be black. Meanwhile, Ariana Grande actually became a strong black woman.
I'm like, bitch, that's my cookie, that's my juice, okay? Carry on. Thank you, next. That's what this baby picture says.
You'll write a song to a beat and then it'll change based on what's written on top of it.
She adopted blaccent. People said she was blackfishing as a black woman or trying to appear mixed race. and also wearing fake hair that black women are known to wear. And for those who like to go off on black women for wearing, fake hair, every woman wears fake hair. White women also wear fake hair. So y'all need to just stop it and get some bitches. But anyway, Ariana Grande was out here saying yeah in every song. Now, for those who are saying, what's wrong with her saying yeah? Well, what happened was white people thought she created it because the ad-lib became synonymous with her when it was created by black rappers. Or to put it more frank, niggas did it first. Now, there were others such as Iggy Azalea, 6ix9ine, Rita Ora, rapper G-Eazy, Adele, who really make soul, blues, and jazz music. Now, I wouldn't put offender on Adele's name because she didn't offend anyone, but the 2010s was filled with mainly offenders. Sam Smith as well, but he also wasn't offending anyone in my opinion. Jack Harlow, offender. Bruno Mars, he's not white, but he's not black either. I don't know. How do you feel about Bruno Mars? Is he an offender? I know he's not white, but would you consider him like an offender or someone who is like accepted? I don't know, because I hear people complain about him, but then I also hear a lot of people saying that they don't care and they just love him. So, how do you feel? There is also Katy Perry as well, but Katy didn't dive too deep. She mirrors Taylor, where they both didn't make their beds in black genres or overstay their welcome. And I'm using welcome lightly, as they both got backlash from the public. Now, welcome to the 2020s, and we are all seeing that music is changing. Hip-hop is slipping in the US, meanwhile pop, rock, and country are growing, and not just in the US, but worldwide. Because of the shift in genre dynamics, along with audiences being tired of hip-hop being this collector of other genres, example emo rap, country hip-hop, and so on, audiences are now just wanting genres in their base formats again. Lots of white artists, whether the new ones or the seasoned ones, are ditching or not hopping on the hip-hop trend at the moment. The first person who I think is relevant to this segment is Post Malone. And Post Malone is intriguing because of something that occurs frequently. White artists enters black genres, then move on to other genres when they are done being black. Kind of like a parasite. So yeah, we are seeing Post Malone now reinventing himself as a rock country artist and putting hip-hop on the back burner. Now, I'm a strong believer that any artist can partake in any genre. Music belongs to everyone. Once it goes out into the ether, it belongs to everyone. Hence why everyone has a different meaning of what a song, means. Many music genres such as hip-hop, jazz, or reggae have strong ties to a culture or a group of people that created it. So I understand gatekeeping or feeling some type of way when the genre gets exploited by an outsider per se. I see both sides. And I feel like this conversation is, never a simple one. It's very complex, but I see both sides of it's okay and it's not okay. Another artist that's bringing back the white aesthetic in music is Tate McRae. She's reminiscent of that bubble pop era of Britney and Christina Aguilera, that hyper cheerleader-ish gymnastic type dance moves. Her whole energy just gives white girl energy. Sabrina Carpenter as well, who has 3 number 1s in the top 10 on the Hot 100 right now, which is crazy. Yeah, she dabble in R&B sometimes, but Sabrina is an ultimate white girl, and there's nothing wrong with that. She is the emerging pop girl of 2024 along with Chappell Roan, who also has so many songs on the Hot 100 right now. Chappell also is pure pop, white aesthetics only. The next person is Benson Boone. Now he's bringing back pop rock, which has been dead since 2011 in my opinion, but he's bringing it back with his single Beautiful Things, which peaked number 2 on the Hot 100 this year. The song reminds me of that classic pop rock sound that we haven't heard since, probably 2009. Just very reminiscent, but also not too dated where it sounds like he's trying to rehash 2000s pop rock. No, it sounds very reinventive. Also, Hozier, another white artist, he had a number 1 this year with his track Too Sweet, a rock song. So rock is coming back. Although I put Billie as an outlier for this decade, Billie is bringing back the soft rock sound with her latest album Hit Me Hard and Soft. But as I said, the reason why I would, I'm still putting her as an outlier is because her aesthetics, like the way how she dresses, it's still giving, trying to be urban, but also not so urban. But back to the charts. Right now, the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 has only one black act, Shaboozey, who has the #1 song, a country song by the way. But everyone else is white. And there is no hip hop in the top 10 right now, and the year is coming to a close. I guess right now we are going back to a space where being white musically is okay, and it's always been okay. We just need artists, no matter their race, to just make good music. To the white artists out there, you don't have to be black for black people or any other group of people to like you. For example, 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton, one of the whitest songs ever, and it ended up being a hood classic, loved by black people around the world. And it's good we can have civil discourse about this topic without being triggered or feeling baited. It is what it is. What do you think? I'm Don, your pop culture boy, and I will see you in the next one. That wasn't so bad.